Hey everyone, happy Friday and welcome to our AFAA Facebook Live. I'm Angie Miller. I'm an AFAA Mentor and an NASM Master Instructor. I also produce Angie's Tips, which are group fitness tips that you can find on the blog. But my favorite day of the week is now Fridays, not just because it's Fridays, but because I get to host these amazing Facebook Live events with these incredible people that I respect and admire. So today's topic is 80s fitness to today's fitness. So this is right up my alley. It's an evolution over time, and I have a guest with me today who has become a friend, who I consider a mentor and who I really admire. And we'll tell the story of how we met later on, but her name is Tamilee Webb, and we all know her as the Buns of Steel lady. Even my daughter today, when I told her I was gonna have Tamilee Webb, she shot back a text message and said, "Oh, the Buns of Steel lady." And then another secret is my husband's in love with her. So anyway, so Tamilee Webb, I'm gonna turn this over to you and let you introduce yourself.
Well, thanks for that great introduction. Yeah, I don't mind borrowing your husband and daughter. Yeah, so 80s, it did start, I guess, for myself in the 80s, but I remember Buns of Steel, when I produced the first one, it was in 89, and I think we released it like in 89 and 90. But I actually did do a few videos prior to that. In 1986. So that's when I produced my first book. It was called The Original Rubber Band Workout. And I don't know if anybody remembers Dr. Art Uleen of the NBC Today Show. He was their medical expert at that time. And it kind of looks like Groucho Marx. And he had come to me and asked if I would be interested in putting my book on video, and we called it Body Band. So I ended up doing Body Band, and my very first video was called Balance Fitness, which was for ACOG, American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists.
Wow. Well, you know, it's funny because you have been doing this for so long, and here you actually started in the 80s, and my first fitness video was in 2007. I was a really late bloomer. I've been like that my whole life. I'm always a late bloomer. And I thought I'd take a minute to share how you and I met. So Tamilee and I met on the set of one of my fitness videos. I was filming Kettlebell Boot Camp, and they hired you to be, I guess, the director. And I remember telling my sister, another person who's in love with you, my whole family, and I said, Tamilee is going to be on the set. She's going to be the director. And my sister was like, oh my goodness, they always worked out to you in their basement. And so when I started producing fitness videos, I started sending them my videos, but I don't think that they had nearly as much fun, my older sister listening to her baby sister tell her what to do as they did hearing you tell them what to do. So you have the ultimate respect of my whole family. But yeah, that's where you and I met. And I have a little side note. Do you remember what the first piece of advice you gave me when we were on the set that day?
Most likely it would just be yourself and connect to the camera. It really is about just being yourself and forget that anybody else is in the room. Just you and that person that you're talking to. Was it close?
It was close. Well, my favorite was that you told me that you always eat a donut every time before you film a fitness video.
Okay, now that is true because I would prep for production and I was eating mostly protein and vegetables and being really clean. And then for some reason, because I love donuts, I'm a sweet person, but I limit them. And I select certain times that I can have them. And production for me was donut because it gave you the sugar high and I got to have that donut and I was just on a buzz the whole day. Did I give you a donut?
You did not, but it's just always stayed with me. That whole experience has stayed with me because you made it a wonderful experience, but also just because it always came to my mind the fact that that was one of your pieces of advice. But so today, really what we're here to talk about is, remember when fitness videos were all the rage? And I do. And so do you. And I know that a lot of our people who are going to be tuning in today do. And we want to talk about a little bit about the evolution of home workouts, also branding challenges, what they were then when you started, what they were when I started, and what they are today. And then this big paradigm shift. And that's what I chose to call it, because I think that there's a big shift in how we reach home and studio exercisers today versus how we reached them. So when you started. So why don't we start with when you and I first started this conversation, when I called you and asked you if you would do this, I said DVDs to today, and you said, well, hold up, you're forgetting about VHS. So
Right.
why don't you share a little bit more of, kind of that journey?
Yeah, there's quite an evolution when you've been doing this for a while. So just kind of like if you think about music, so music kind of started back with the record, and then we had the 8-track, and it's the same with video. So when video started, we put it on VHS, and VHS, were those little boxes. But the only place that we were marketing them at the time, and this is in the early 80s, you would get a catalog in the mail. And you get this little catalog, and it would have like fiction videos, horror videos, life videos, animal videos, and fitness. So that's where the videos were. So you would order them through there. And then eventually the mom and pop places started popping up, right? And they were on it. There was tons of them. And so the catalog kind of fizzed out, but the VHS did not. So VHS stayed there. And if you think about it, so if this was in the 80s, I would say the VHS stuck around for in the 80s and halfway into the 90s. And the 90s is when they started bringing in, because technology keeps changing so fast. So DVDs, which now it's not so big, clunky, it's a little round disc. So the format became a DVD. And the DVD hung around there too. You can still get them today. However, I would say it was in the probably about 2008, things were starting to go digital. And I remember when I introduced it, I was trying to get people to go from video to DVD. They got the DVD into digital, and they weren't grasping it right away because you didn't have to pay for shipping and handling. You could get it immediately, but we like that tangible thing. So I'm sure there will be other things that will be coming up because of how fast technology changes. But today, if you saw my environment, I have stacks of VHSs, stacks of DVDs. I have, oh my gosh. So what I'm doing, because who has a VHS player anymore? Right? So I take the VHS and I need to convert them. So if they're VHS, I convert them to DVD or digital, which now is digital. So I actually had to go and find a player. I had to buy a used player that played the VHS and the DVD, get a converter so I can convert it into the digital, because we are a digital world now.
We are. I have to tell you, I have a closet full of all my videos, a closet full of DVDs, because, we went digital, and some people still, like you said, I have an older adult fitness video and they still very much want the DVD version.
Yes.
And there are still people who want the DVD version, but many, many more of them want the digital version. But I'm really curious, and I know everyone would like to know before we even start on this journey through this evolution, is tell me a little bit more about how you got started, because I do think it's fascinating, because your start and my start were so very, very different. Because when you started, fitness was such a different realm, and kind of what got you into the Buns of Steel. And you said you started before that, and you actually had a book, but because it has a lot to do with branding. So get us started on that journey.
Sure. Going way back, is I was raised in Northern California, and I had brothers. My father was a semi-pro baseball player, so I grew up in sports. I had one doll my entire life, Pebbles. And so sports was always a part of my life. And so when I went on to college, I thought I wanted to be a nurse because I like helping people, but I don't do well with blood. So the next best thing is fitness. But back in those days, and this is the early 80s, is that the only thing that was really offered was PE. You could be a PE teacher, right? Well, about that time, I want to say it was probably 1982, 81, somewhere in there. The first aerobic dance studio popped up. Now, prior to that, if people think back, if they really know their history in fitness, I remember watching my mom work out with Jack LaLanne, right? So Jack LaLanne being the guy, and he was, super fit, and he just, and he continued on to the day he crossed, right? But then there was Jackie Sorensen. Do you remember Jackie Sorensen at all?
I started working out to Jane Fonda, and I started working out to Jane Fonda on a cassette tape, and then she had a map of exercises. So it was like a fold out poster, and it would demonstrate the exercises, but you would put in the cassette tape. I'm really aging myself.
Yeah, I think Kathy Smith did that as well. So, so Jackie Sorensen kind of started this dance stuff just in a garage, and women started coming around, and that's kind of how women got, it was like, we want to exercise, and they would wear their little shorts and their t-shirts, and there, of course, there was no Reebok back then or any shoes designed for women in aerobic dance. But about that time, the first aerobic studios started popping up. And in college, what I did is we had what's it called when you forgot the name of it. But anyway, I decided to put together a class in the evenings for the student body, for the students where I went to school. And I ended up doing 2 aerobics classes back to back with my big boom box in this huge gym. So you can only imagine the acoustics was so bad. And the first class I had 200 girls. Wow. The second class I had 150. So we knew that we were onto something. So when this gentleman opened up the first aerobic studio, he had asked me to come and teach there, and I was like, yeah. And this is, I think, when we were doing aerobic dance at 180 beats per minute, right?
Right.
And so this is about the time On Golden Pond came out, and Jane Fonda came to our town to promote it. And I was just, because I knew that she had her first video out, and I wanted to go meet her. And my roommate had said, you want this girl. She's a great instructor. And Jane just looked at me like, yeah, whatever, okay, whatever. And so speeding up this whole thing, because I am that old, is that I did go on to finish a bachelor's in physical education, but I stayed on to complete what back then we called exercise science. And it was the first time that they were offering it. Today, it's called kinesiology. But I loved learning about the human body and how it functioned, how it worked. Not just what it looked like on the outside, but how it actually works from the inside out. And so from there, when I finished, I moved down to San Diego. And when I got to San Diego, I was kind of overqualified for teaching in a high school because I had a master's degree, but underqualified in the college. And so I just started teaching, because now aerobic dance classes were everywhere. Studios started teaching them. And then I went to work at the Golden Door, which is a famous spa here in Southern California.
Yeah. And so you really were. So did you ever get to meet Jane, by the way, and pick up that conversation? Did you ever get to go back? And
that's actually a very funny story. So I never saw Jane again. I certainly had followed her work because I was really into, at that time too, bodybuilding. I was the first woman in the gym at Chico State when I was going to school there. And I finished my last bodybuilding contest here in San Diego, the Miss San Diego contest. And which I think helped me a lot because it taught me even more about designing bodies. So it's not just aerobic dance, it's really fine tuning people's bodies. And I really wanted to help others, women, find out, wow, you know, there's a better way to get your body in the shape that you want. So I started reaching out because at that time, Kathy Smith started doing videos, right? And I would reach out to Kathy Smith. She's a mentor for me and very kind. She would actually get back to me, and it's like, how do I do videos? I want to do videos. But back to Jane real quick. I didn't see Jane again until the first IDEA conference, where my first video, which was Balance Fitness that I did with Dr. Art Uline, won Best Video, and Jane didn't win. And Jane was on stage for a Lifetime Achievement, right? And do you know, and this is where political BS comes in, they never, ever gave that award again.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting. Well, you know, you started at a time when you just said designing bodies, and that really strikes me because the thing that I always remember about you is that way back when those fitness, you know, VHS videos first came out, you were really one who was really educated, really qualified, but you were really into designing female bodies differently than what we were used to seeing female bodies. So we were used to seeing female bodies jump up and down and jog and do a lot of aerobic type of fitness. But to me, you were a strong female body, an empowered female body. And that was something that always struck me about you. And so, you know, fast forward when I started doing fitness videos in 2007, my first one was a strength video. And that's always been my strong suit, is to do strength workouts. So even though I can run and I can do all the aerobic type of exercise, my strong suit has always been strength. And so having you on the set for a kettlebell video was perfect, because even though kettlebells weren't your thing, again, designing strong, empowered female bodies was always kind of something that was in your back pocket.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for saying that. And I think because of my training, background in women's bodybuilding. So my thesis is actually on women's bodybuilding. And it has, I based it on me going through a contest because we wanted to find out. Back in those days, remember, people would say, oh, I'm not going to lift weights. I don't want to look like a guy. You know, they thought that you could have big muscles. And what they didn't understand is that it depends on your body type. They don't know the body type. And plus, we don't have testosterone. So the thesis goes into testing, you know, does the reproduction system shut down? Well, if your body fat gets low enough, yes, you stop your period. Can you change your muscles to look like a man? Well, depending on your body type, no, because you don't have testosterone, but because I'm a mesomorph, and a good example of you, Angie, is an ectomorph. But you have, which is what ectomorphs should be doing, is more strength. And you did it. And that's why you have an extremely balanced body with long and lean, because you've conditioned and you know how to condition those muscles, which give you the shape that you are today. And it's when you just think, well, I'm going to get on a treadmill, or I'm just going to do a aerobic dance, or I'm just going to run. Yeah, you might lose some weight from that, but you're not giving your body shape. But I will always be larger in muscle because my body type is a mesomorph. So it really is important when consumers are looking for fitness pros or experts, what's their background? How do they know? It's not just they look good, which we see a lot of that today. They just look good, but they don't understand the knowledge of what it takes to really shape and tone, especially the female body. right?
Right. Well, and that's so true, the science and the education behind it. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about in the paradigm shift. And so speaking of all of that, that kind of brings me into the whole branding phenomenon, which that's why I wanted to tap into how you got started, because you got started and you got aligned with a very large brand, the whole Buns of Steel, and it really propelled you, because not only are you an expert and not only are you amazing at what you do, but that brand really propelled you. When I came in 2007, I was just someone who had taught fitness classes for a gazillion years and moved around 6 times. And I had decided that I was always able to build these communities no matter where I lived, that I could move from city to city, state to state. And I was always able to build these communities. And that whatever it was that drew people to my classes, I could bring that with me. And so I wanted to present, and I wanted to do fitness videos, and I wanted to do all those things that I wanted to do in the fitness space. But I came in without a big brand. I came in just being me. And that's a challenging way to come into the fitness space after 2005, to come in without a big name, to come in without, somebody kind of backing you up or giving you the wings. And it was a wonderful experience for me. But let's talk about branding, because for me, some of my fitness videos, I was hired help, so to speak. I was given money up front, and I was asked to show up on the set and to write all the choreography, figure out the entire workout, and then my name and my image got on the DVD, and I got a little bit of recognition, but it was mostly that I was behind that brand. And then a few of mine I also own. But let's talk about that whole branding phenomenon in the fitness space, because it's really hard to, we are our brand. As fitness pros, we are our brand. And no matter who we work for, we are still our own personal brand. But how do we keep that kind of professional autonomy and personal autonomy, but also align ourselves with a brand? Because there's been a huge evolution with that over the years.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of questions in there, Angie. So I'm going to back up. It does help if you have a big company and deep pockets helping you. But I'm going to take a couple steps back again. So when I started to as just a fitness person. I was teaching at the Golden Door. IDEA had their first conference. I got asked to do a presentation, and one of them was my rubber band workout. Another one was a theme class. And from that, I got asked to come to other clubs to either teach a guest, master class, or to train instructors. So from that, I ended up going around the world, traveling from, Japan to Brazil to Norway to Switzerland, and teaching other teachers how to actually teach. So what I was doing is I was becoming a teacher's teacher, right? My target market now is teachers. But what I really wanted to do in my heart was to help the consumers. And not that I can't help the instructors, but I realized I wanted to reach out to the consumers. So I think I was in Europe and I just said, you know what? I've got to stop the traveling. I need to stay in my lane and really work toward what it is that I want. And that is the video stuff. So I started to stay in America, and I had to find, how can I get the video? So yes, most of the time you are hired as talent, right? And I mean, it's fine if you want to do that, but I always recommend other fitness pros, look, what I would do, there's other ways of negotiating that. Instead of just saying, oh, I'll take it because, wow, I'm on a video, is to offer, I'll take less for something on the back end because you believe in your product. And your product is what you've created and designed. Yes, it's their money, it's their production. So you're a part of it. And then, so after I had done, and I did get, I did get royalties for the first two, but when Buns of Steel came along, I was never put on a contract other than to do that one contract. Now that contract was that I would get a royalty. and I wanted that royalty. And the royalty that I got, I remember 12 cents. 12 cents. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but in my head, I knew this. If I got on there and I did a great job, because I didn't want to just be the talent, even though I knew that, okay, it's one. I've got to go in there and I'm going to do the best job I can because they're going to want me again. And sure enough, that's what happened. Now, each time that they came back, I upped the ante. All right. So it wasn't, okay, they want you to do 2 more. Okay, great. But this is what I want now. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like I went from, 12 cents to $1. It was negotiating. I gradually went up the ladder. And then I wanted to make sure, is my name attached to it? My brand is me. It's my name. I can't sell my name. But Buns of Steel is their brand. And that's what people think. I own the brand. I don't own the brand. I became the brand because after I did the second, I ended up doing, there's a whole nother story to that, 22 titles. So it was learning how to negotiate along the way and ask for a little bit more. And what was one of your other questions?
Well, I think what you said, I think that's perfect, actually. And what I got out of that is one of the biggest takeaways that I got out of that was you started by talking about your target market. And I think that is critical because when I did decide that I wanted to do fitness videos and I just had this beloved passion of I wanted to reach people as much as I could globally, even if only 5 people bought my video, I decided it was going to be worth it because I decided in all these moves, I must have something that I wanted to share with people. Well, that led me into fitness education, same as you. That led me into, I started working for AFAA. I started leading AFAA's group fitness workshops, and then I started applying to conventions. And the great thing about the fitness video at that time is that was like my book. That was what's the word? The thing that I had that I could show as something that kind of proved my worth. Correct. Mm-hmm. So thank you. Easy word.
One product under your belt.
Right. So I could apply to these conventions and say, I produced this got into collage video, this is on the top whatever list, and this is selling, and I'm also an educator and I'm credentialed and what have you. So, but I think that the biggest takeaway with that was, first of all, know your market. So it's pretty hard. You can reach consumers and fit pros, and you and I both kind of straddle that line. But it is if you really want to dig in deep and build your foundation, it's probably better if you choose. Do I really want to reach consumers, or do I really want to reach fit pros? And then the other two things that I got out of what you said was mentorship is critical. Having a mentor is critical, somebody that you can kind of call on to guide you. I've called you a number of times over the years. And then the last one was the royalties, that it's okay to be hired help, just as I was several times, just as you have been, but make sure that you're getting things, make sure that your photo is used, make sure that your name is put out there, and make sure that if you can, getting royalties for it.
Yes. And when I talk about target market, because we had talked about this the other day, Angie, is that a lot of times people want to do something and they think, because I'll get people instructors that will call me and, I've got a great class. Everybody loves it. They say it should be, why isn't it on a DVD? I want to purchase it. And I say, okay, but who's your target audience? The ones that are telling you this are the ones that are going to the classes. If you want to sell a product, are you only going to sell it to those that are going to your class? Probably not. You want to get it out to the consumer. So it is important that you know your consumer. You also need to know, what do you want? Why do you want it? How do you get it? Who's your target market? How are you going to reach them? So, and that's what I find critical today, because if you look at social media, so social media was not around when I was doing Buns of Steel. Buns of Steel was the first fitness infomercial when I did the Platinum series, and it just took off. It did so well, and so when I talk about marketing back then, we had an infomercial well, yeah, they're still infomercials today, but not like they were when I did them. You would get on television. You would do a tour, and you would be on television. You would do newspapers. You would do magazines. PR was totally different than it is today. Today, we have these platforms, and anybody can get out there. So it's not a big company. Yes, I ended up having a company that was willing to put in the marketing behind it, but it was a good combination. They had the marketing, they had the money, and I had the right combination of what people wanted. Because a little history on Buns of Steel. Buns of Steel was actually created by a guy named Greg Smithy. And then from there, it went to they actually had another woman before me, and it failed. And they said, look, we want a woman that looks like a woman, that knows fitness. And they didn't want Greg because they wanted to focus on the women. That was their target market. And that's when I came along. And when it hit, then they're like, let's roll with this. So I rolled with it as well, which built more of my brand, me personally, more products. So yeah, it opens more doors, but you really have to know your brand, and the brand is as fitness pros is us. It's your personality. But what they buy on social media, because today on social media, you can know nothing, as we have discussed. And if you look good, and somebody, or you're good at marketing yourself on those social media platforms, which a lot of the young people are. They grew up with this. They know how to get on there and market. They have lots of friends. That's what their friends do. And unlike someone like myself, I am still learning it. And how do I learn it? I either follow other people. I have other people that I reach out to and teach me whatever that is. But today, it's about your story. You've got to have a story. Yeah. What's your story? Because it's not about the product. Here, I have this video, buy it. Well, what's the story behind it? Mm-hmm. And I used to be a brand manager for a very big influencer. And she, I think, has like 2 million followers. Now, that sounds like a lot, and it is. But if you have less than 1% of that really engaging with you, is that really a lot? And so it's easy to buy followers too. And I'm not saying that was done, but I call Facebook fake book, because anything can be fake. But branding is, you've got to be true to yourself, and you've got to find your niche. What is your niche? Who is your target? And then you got to be consistent, brand it. What are your colors? What is your tagline? My tagline is workouts you trust. Mm-hmm. How many workouts do I have? I don't know. I think I sent you I have over almost 70 videos that I've produced or I've done. And it's about being consistent with what I'm doing, and people know that they can trust my workouts.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I love that. I'm actually here taking notes, and some of the things that I got out of that is marketing PR today is a completely different animal. It's the Wild West out there in terms of marketing and PR, and everyone says, well, it's amazing because we have social media and it's free. And it is amazing, but it kind of waters down everything and everyone. You have to have a really, really, really strong, powerful sense of how to navigate social media. And just because you have a strong, powerful sense of how to navigate it doesn't mean that you know more than the next person. It just means that you have a strong, powerful sense of how to navigate it. So it always reminds me of, I always use the example of, the old Christmas shows, and they would, holiday shows in general, they would only come out once a year, and you would have to wait for them, and you would open up the TV programming guide, and you would just be sitting waiting for that program to come on Wednesday, November, whatever it was, at 7 p.m. And that was the only time that you could see it. So there was a lot of authenticity and hype in that. And so when we first started started doing, the DVDs and so on, even then social media wasn't what it is. And so it was more authentic. Your product meant something because your product, if you had a product, it meant that you probably had skills and credentials and you worked really hard to get that product developed. And so people went out of their way to kind of search you out and buy your products. Whereas now it's, there's quote product everywhere because it's all over social media. So it's a completely different animal.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. When you say it sounds like it's free, but really nothing is free. What I have found is the platforms constantly change the rules. So it used to be probably 7-8 years ago, you could promote your ebook on Instagram or on Facebook and sell a lot. Well, today it's like you're being monitored. They want their cut. So it's not so easy anymore. They want you to pay for ads. Oh, okay, I'm going to pay for ad, and this is all that this is all that can see. So I question sometimes about the whole social media and the propagandas of what they do to almost hold us like, okay, you want everybody, all your friends to see that? Well, you're going to have to pay because we're not going to let all your friends see that. So it really isn't free. And this is where I think if you're an instructor, if your target audience is, and you're local, let's say you're local, this is where you're just in your hometown, you're fine with that. You don't want to be national, you don't want to be international, you're right there. What you need to do is you need to start collaborating, and not just collaborating with the people on social media. So for instance, if you are looking through and you see another maybe fitness person, and it doesn't have to be a fitness person. Let's say it's something to do with a nutritionist, and you team up with nutritionists, so you collaborate something together on both of your platforms, because it's going to introduce you to her clientele and vice versa. Now, that's the internet. The second one you want to do is you want to go out to your community. You want to go into your local, whatever they're doing, local community halls. If there's let's say if your target is seniors, you want to go to the senior home and you want to get those people involved. How can you go in, do a free talk, offer a free workout? Because yes, there's everything free, but you have to give something so that they understand, oh my gosh, I got that much, I want more. So it's getting more from what you're giving.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I'm all about doing things for free when I feel like A, it matches my mission. B, when I feel like I'm going to reach the people that I want to reach. C, when it helps to build a collaborative relationship with somebody. Because anytime that I've done something for free, whether it is for I used to write for She Knows, and I actually wrote some things for them for free, but I built relationships with the editors who asked me to do that. And then the next thing you know, I'm getting asked to do other things. And so it's really is, it's about collaboration. And that's what I consider, I don't consider it free when I'm collaborating with somebody in my space who's going to tap me on the shoulder for the next thing. But I love what you're saying. I love how you're talking about collaborating, because you don't have to travel the globe, and anymore traveling the globe is being done in front of our computer, right? In other words, we're not going to be as global for a while. And so being able to make connections with people who are global is really what's most important, right? We don't have to fly to Sweden. We just want to tap into the people who live in Sweden, if in fact they match our mission and our brand. So I love what you're saying. And I love that because at the end of the day, collaborating with people. And then one other thing that you talked about was just, I always think authenticity sells, being you, being your brand, just being who you are, authentically living, eating, and breathing that space that you inhabit, and then finding your tribe that fits into that. And they will find you. You know, you'll find them and they'll find you, and it'll be a beautiful relationship. We don't need 3 million followers, but if we had 300 followers who are part of our tribe and really believe in what we do, we're going to get so much further.
That is so well said, Angie. Yeah, you want to find your tribe, and don't get discouraged when I was getting discouraged. I have a Webb Workouts, which is a platform where I've taken all of my products and edit them down. So if you have just 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you can pick and choose. You just go into the time slot, the body part, or the workout you want, and boom, you do it. And I would get discouraged if I lost members. I'm like, why? And of course, I want to know why, because it betters my product and my members. And it teaches me things. And a lot of times it's just, you know, if we're not a fit, you don't want them there. You want the people who really love what you do, and they will eventually come. And it's also knowing your, like you had said, when you wrote for She Knows and the other people, some of it you get paid, some of it you don't. That's just kind of goes with what we do, right? But you have resources, and resources is golden. So you know you can go through and look, it's not like your index, it's your resources. Who out there knows or could possibly help? And if not, maybe they can recommend. And so you want to tap into your resources. And the other thing, you know, when you start getting products under your belt, those are passive income. So with this whole COVID, my video sells, you know, because everybody's going, there's so, I mean, look, there's Peloton, there's row studios now, there's, you name it, hot yoga, there's so much to choose from. So my video sales, you know, were pretty low. Over the last 3-4 months, they have tripled. And it's because now people are back home and they're going, what was I doing when I was in the best shape of my life? Now, I haven't done anything. I didn't have to do any more work with that. That's passive income. And so there's the product, and then it will come in. So having good products, having relationships, your resources is really, really important. But the most important is what you said, and that is authenticness about who you are. Don't try and be something you're not. Don't try and say something that you don't know. My whole thing is, if I don't know it, I'm going to find out and I'll get back to you. So well said.
Yeah, it's so true. And, you know, it really does come down to, you know, what we said at the very beginning. First of all, determining who your market is. Who do you really want to speak to? Who makes you want to get out of bed and put your feet on the floor in the morning? Is that the home exerciser? Is that the fit pro at the gym? Is that, you know, do you want to educate out in the fitness space? Do you want to educate your home exerciser? So who is that person, or who is that tribe that you want to reach? And then from there, pick up some relationships with people that you can collaborate with. Get a good mentor, and be consistent in your message, like you were mentioning. Be consistent in what you're saying and what your true mission is. And there's something else that you said earlier that I thought was really interesting, is a story sells, and a story always has. I mean, I'm an avid reader, and that's what a book is. A book is a story. I want to pick up and I want to put myself in someone else's world. And when we have a story, that story is what makes us feel connected to someone. And that's why I actually started the whole webinar with you saying, hey, give us your story, because I love your story. And that story is what connects us to people, right? So, and when people understand you and where you came from and they know your story, they feel like they know Tamilee, like they're in their living room with you.
That's the thing that was said the most about my videos. People would come up to me and say, it's like you're right there in the living room with me. And then I'll be sitting and you'll go, you better not be sitting down. You better be up doing this with me. So you want to make it as real as possible. And that's the thing when you go to do, as you and I know, when you get in front of a camera, and it's the reason I really don't care to do live on Facebook or even Instagram, because you're looking at yourself. I like looking at my people. But when you're doing a video and you're producing it, you have to look through these lenses, and you have to be able to connect with that person. You've got to reach through that camera, and you have to connect somehow with them, because once you connect to them, they are yours forever. They will stay with you. They will follow you. And I think after that, the best thing was whatever she puts out, just trust that it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's funny. A couple of years ago, it was actually the summer of 2017, I flew to California to film some walking workouts for Gaiam. And they were, I've not seen them to this day, because you have to be a subscriber to Gaiam Fit TV and Yoga. I think they're Gaiam TV Fit and Yoga or something like that. We were leaving the Chicago area at the time, and it was a Comcast production. And I moved to the South, and we don't get Comcast here. But I've been getting a plethora of emails lately, and I'm like, where are these videos? And I discovered that Gaiam had put them on Amazon. And so one of them was called a mood boosting workout. And I remember because the people on this set were giving me a really healthy, funny, good, hard time about how when I do a fitness video, you would think I was talking to 30 people, because I'm all full of positive statements and positive energy. And it was like I was out there talking to myself the whole time, but you would have thought I was talking to a room full of people. And so my last email from this person actually said, I felt like you were right there with me in my living room.
Yeah. And that's probably the best compliment that you can get. Angie, next time you're going to do any negotiating, please call me. There's no reason that should ever happen. And I think that's where a lot of pros, fitness people, is that their love for what they do is so great that they forget about the business side. And the business side is you do have to know how to negotiate, or have somebody that is negotiating for you. So if you don't have the attorney, which you always want to have some legal to look it over. But I always recommend when I'm coaching someone and I'm like, look, this is what you need. You want your name, your brand. You want this in the long run. It's better to take less here, or you say, okay, but I want 50 units of those, since they're on Gaiam, but I want. There's all kinds of ways to negotiate.
Right. Well, it's an interesting journey. And, you mentioned something really powerful earlier where you said, hey, even if you never want to film a fitness video, even if you never want to present at a conference, even if you just want to make a huge difference in your local town, which is perfect, because I really think that that's where we all need to start, is making an impact with the people all around us, our neighbors, our friends, the people who really, the people who we know and matter to us, the people that we can truly inspire. And I love how, at the end of the day, no matter what, whether we want to reach millions of people across the globe or whether we want to reach people next door, authenticity is really where it's at. Being consistent, knowing your message, knowing your audience, knowing what your true mission is, and then going after it, head to toe, and making sure you have a good mentor like you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm available for coaching. And yeah, somebody had called, and they weren't even sure, am I still out there? Am I still doing something? And no, I'm not out there like I was before, but I still love what I do. And that's why I'm promoting my Webb Workouts. But I still teach at a local gym now that we're just starting to get back in there with limited students. And then I do some coaching. And I don't think it'll ever come that I'll ever leave it to go do something else, because I truly love to help others. And whether they're consumers or fitness people, it's for everybody. And I just want to thank you for doing Angie's tips, doing this session. It's extremely, hopefully, helpful to those that are looking for information about what it is that they're wanting to go forward with.
Yeah. And I think it's true. I think that even just, when I call you up occasionally and say, and I talk things through, I think just having one another to talk things through, to send ideas through, to be reminded of our value and our worth. And like you said, no matter how much we love this space and how much we want to make an impactful difference, being reminded of our value and our worth, and knowing that, we can always find a way to put ourselves out there and match our mission, and still walk away with some deliverables that mean something for us and our brand. So, but I really appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. If there's any last kind of tips that I missed or anything you wanted to share, I'll turn it over to you. But if not, that was my main mission, was for you to share your story, for us to share how we met, and for you to share what is it about branding? What can we learn from someone like you? Because you've been an icon, and you've taken your brand from start to finish, and you've never let up on your game. You just keep getting better and better at it.
Well, thank you. I call it not aging, but it's experiencer. I'm an experiencer now, and I've gone through a lot, and you got to go with the times. It is a new time, especially now, how things are changing. And I see a lot of people doing more online workouts, and if that is where we're going, I'm going to suggest you do need to know how to do production. So I'm going to give you my favorite app that I love editing. So when I video and edit on the phone, it's called Video Shop. It's one of my favorites. But you do need to you've got to have, as we know right now, I mean, we have a producer. So we know, thank you, Greg, that having good lighting, having a good background, good sound, not a lot of distractions, but so that people can see it. So there's a lot of different things besides the love of fitness that you have to be today. And the other one is production. So get some lighting, get good camera, mics, and learn the production side of it. But thank you so much for what you're doing, Angie. I really appreciate you letting me be your guest on the show today.
Thank you. And thank you for being on. And for all of you listening, by the way, the selfie ring was the best thing that ever happened to me. Side note. Greatest light ring ever. Thanks so much to all of you for joining us. I so appreciate everybody's energy and positivity, all the comments and the feedback that we get. If there's ever anything you want us to talk about on a Friday, or a topic that I haven't covered yet, or a person that you want to see on here, by all means, share it. Put it on Facebook. Let me know where you're at with all of this. I hope everybody has an amazing weekend. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and keep collaborating and joining one another in this journey.